things to talk about. Happy Friday. The ruling is in. We've been waiting. Come on in. Let's talk about it. SCOTUS has ruled. The Supreme Court has ruled. Come on in. Let's talk about all things Trump immigration. How do you feel about the ruling? What does this mean? Come on in, like the video, like, share, and subscribe. Happy Friday. Come on in. I want to talk about what this ruling means. Massive win. What's up, Bob? Massive win. I want to talk about what it means because I was kind of confused and I had to kind of phone a friend, aka Chat GPT, help me understand what's going on. So I think I got it, but I want to go live and talk about it and just make sure that everyone kind of understands what this means. What this means, because SCOTUS is like, listen, we gonna give you this today, but we still got some things to go over. So I want to get into that just to try to understand what's going on here. Because right now it's definitely going to shake some things up. Riza, unexpected live. Good afternoon. Yes. Definitely unexpected. When I saw this ruling on the birthright citizenship, I was like, okay, what's going on? I want to understand. So it took me a minute to really try to understand like what this ruling meant. So I decided to just do an impromptu Friday afternoon live. I guess it's midday, early afternoon where I'm at in Georgia on the East Coast. So let me know, where are you? Where are you located at? What time is it? What state are you in? I can't remember where you're located. Where are you located? So I want to pop out and just talk about this ruling because I think it's going to shake things up. Wisconsin. Okay, Wisconsin, never been there. Are you on my time zone? Or are you an hour behind? Because it's almost 1 o'clock here. It's 12:58. What time is it? 12 o'clock, Texas. So you're in Texas. So, all right, then, y'all come on in here. We about to talk about it. Let me know, how do you all feel about this ruling? The Supreme Court came back with a ruling. I actually forgot that they were kind of weighing in on this because it's been so much going on. Rizzy said, well, Milwaukee, we an hour behind you. Got it. So it's been a lot going on. So I actually forgot that this was something on the docket. So when I seen that there was a ruling, and President Trump just finished a press conference, I don't know if you all caught that, but he talked about it some along with, the Iran, the situation. Listen, he talked about a lot of things. So if you get a chance, catch the replay of Trump speaking to the press about different things, but he did touch on this ruling, the Supreme Court ruling centered around the birthright citizenship. The Trump administration does view this as a big win. So I want to talk about what this win means. What does it mean? What does it mean? So let me know, anyone in the chat, if you understand like what's going on. If you confused, because initially I was confused, but I think I'm pretty good now. So on a high level, what this means is that prior to today, when Trump wanted to remove birthright citizenship for anywhere within the U.S., the local government, the state courts were like, no, you can't do that. And they were just stopping everyone with, let's just say, one lawsuit, I guess you can say, one lawsuit. And so everybody was just rolled up. So say I'm in Georgia. So let's just say people here in Georgia as a collective are not here for the removal of birthright citizenship. And the state of Georgia is like, yo, we're just going to stop it. You can't do that. We have basically this document, this paperwork for everybody saying, no, you can't do it. You can't do it. And so The Supreme Court is like, no, you can't do that. Anyone who wants to fight against the birthright citizenship will have to file their own lawsuit. So basically, for the blocking to be applied to you, your name has to be a part of a lawsuit that has the block in effect. It can't be just blanketed that says, no, Trump, you can't do this in the state of Georgia, in Wisconsin, in New York, wherever. Your name specifically has to be named in the lawsuit for it to apply to you. So up until today, that was a hard stop because just the one, let's just say, lawsuit was able to apply to anyone in said state. Supreme Court like, nah, we're not doing that. We're not going to do that. You have to specifically be named in the document. So anybody who got an issue with it, hey, what's up, Ronlana? How are you? Long time no see. Anyone who has an issue with the birthright citizenship, basically the Supreme Court said, I'm gonna need for you to file your own independent lawsuit against Trump, the administration, whoever. You cannot have, it cannot be rolled up into just one suit for the entire state. You understand? So I'm going to get into further detail from Newsweek.com about this ruling. Come on in, like the video. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Latoya Jackson. Welcome. I don't recognize you. Welcome. You all hit the like button, but I want to share some information that I came across to help us kind of understand what's going on with this ruling. What does it mean? As you can see, Supreme Court rules on birthright citizenship, what to know. So we're about to get into the ins and the outs of it. Come on in, hit the like button as you come on in. Happy Friday. So it reads, the Supreme Court is meeting on Friday to decide the final case. They did meet today. The divided Supreme Court ruled Friday that individual federal judges do not have the authority to issue nationwide injunctions, delivering a procedural victory to President Trump while leaving unresolved the future of his attempt to restrict birthright citizenship. So like I said, like everybody can't just be rolled up into like one suit. Like you have to have your individual suits if you got an issue with the birthright citizenship. Because right now, it's like prior to today, it was like everybody kind of rolled up into one. And Supreme Court's like, no, we're not going to do that. You got to have like your own individual paper trail. So if your name, Carlos Rodriguez, you need your own paper trail, your own suit for you, Carlos Rodriguez. You can't be just rolled up into just one big one for like your state, the state of California. You can't do that. That's basically what this ruling is saying. Now, when you do get your own paperwork going and it has your name in it, it doesn't necessarily mean that your birth, given that you're not from here. Well, let me rephrase that. Given that your parents are not from here, but you're from here and your parents are illegal, it's not saying that you now have to just be deported. That ruling has not been made as of yet. AG Attorney General, U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi did speak at the press conference that just ended right before I started this live, that said that come October, there is going to be more information to come centered around that process. Because the question came up is like, okay, well, who is supposed to be regulating this process with babies and things being born in the U.S. to illegal parents? Does that responsibility fall onto the medical professionals in the hospitals, like the doctors and the nurses? Are they supposed to report information to the state, the government, to say, hey, Maria and Carlos just gave birth to a baby girl, and they're not legal, but they did just have a child. Like, who's supposed to be doing the dry snitching? Like, so Pam Bondi said, listen, that information is going to come out probably by around October as to what that process is going to look like. So they are going, the Trump administration will proceed with what they're wanting to do, as in like try to deport even people who are born here in the U.S. If Trump and his team, ICE, whoever roll up on you, you have to file your own claim, put your own lawsuit in place to fight that. It's no longer like a thing where it's just rolled up on a high level by your local state or the government, nothing like that. You got to get your own paperwork going. You got to file your own paperwork. Supreme Court still have not ruled on whether or not they will grant Trump permission to deport people who are actually born here. That hasn't been, there's no ruling on that yet. So that's still out there outstanding. But right now they are still able to put things in motion as though they're able to get you up out of here if you were born here, if you understand. Listen, it can be confusing, but nonetheless, the Trump administration will be taking steps towards removing people who were born here, who were born here by illegal immigrants. So if your mama wasn't legal, she gave birth to you, Trump and the Trump administration can come and knock on your door, have a conversation with you, and talk with you about deportation. That's what's going on right now. Why does it matter? The 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution provides that all children born in the U.S. are automatically American citizens. That is the Constitution as it stands still today. But the issue before the justices in Trump versus CASA is not the lawfulness of Trump's executive order seeking to end birthright citizenship for some people. Rather, they are weighing whether judges have the authority to issue the nationwide or universal injunctions that have blocked Trump's order from being implemented. The Trump administration has completed, the Trump administration has complained that judges are overreaching by issuing orders that apply to everyone instead of only the parties involved. Remember, I said the change is SCOTUS, the Supreme Court is saying, listen, you can't have this blanketed complaint, this blanketed lawsuit. Like, you have to name individuals in your paperwork. You got to name, so whoever is rolled up in the matter, how do I want to say it? Whoever is in question as far as whether or not they can be in the U.S. or not, their name has to be mentioned in the suit, the complaint, the paperwork, whatever you want to call it. It's not a blanketed thing. Your name got to be named in it for it to even matter. Such orders have plagued both Republican and Democrat administrations over the past decade, but they have emerged as an important check on Trump's agenda, increasingly frustrating the president and his allies. Come on in, double tap the screen, like the video. We are talking about the ruling, the Supreme Court ruling today, centered around the birthright citizenship. What to know? Trump signed an executive order to deny birthright citizenship to children born in the U.S. to parents who are in the country illegally or temporarily shortly on his first day back in office on January 20th. Federal judges in Maryland, Washington, and Massachusetts have issued nationwide injunctions blocking Trump's order, with one calling it blatantly unconstitutional. So the Supreme Court is saying, hey, you can't have like this nationwide injunction on blocking his order. You have to have just individual lawsuits out there with said person's name on who's in question as far as being deported because they were born here in the U.S. through parents who were not legal. You see what I'm saying? So I imagine it's got to be centered around the mother, if the mother was legal or not, since the child is coming from the womb of the mother. So basically, if the mother is here in the U.S. illegally and she has a baby, as of the law that we have in place, the Constitution, that baby would be a citizen of the U.S., even though the baby is born to or from a mother who's not. Trump is wanting to change that. He actually signed an executive order that says if your mother is illegal, and just because she gave birth to you in the U.S., you should not be legal. You should not be able to be here in the U.S. legally. The mama should have to leave, as well as you as the child should have to leave. That is what he signed. People are not here for that. A lot of people, some people are here for it. I'm like, hey, I personally don't have an issue with it. I feel like the citizenship should be attached to the citizenship of the mother. Makes sense to me. I believe that's how it works in any other country. Like, say, I'm an American citizenship. I go over to Europe and I just so happen give birth over there. From my understanding, my child's citizenship will follow me because I am an American citizen. So even though I gave birth to my child over in Europe, my child is still an American citizenship. Now, another scenario could be I could file for dual citizenship for my child because the child was born over there, and maybe I could get granted the dual citizenship for my child because the child was born in Europe. But without going through that process, automatically my child is just still American. That is my understanding as to how it works. If me as an American, if I were to go to any other country and just give birth to a child, the child's citizenship would be attached to me, whatever my citizenship is. What do you say about that? Is that wrong? Is that right? Do I not have a good understanding of that? Some of you in here may have been in a situation like that where you gave birth to a child in another country that you are not a citizen of. You know of other people in that situation. Let me know. How does it work? Because Trump is basically wanting the child's citizenship to be attached to whatever the mother's citizenship is. To me, that's easy to understand. Rule of thumb, your citizenship is connected to that of your mother. Your citizenship is connected to that of your mother. Come on in here, like the video. What else is the article saying? The Trump administration then made an emergency appeal to the Supreme Court to narrow the court orders that have prevented his executive order from taking effect anywhere in the U.S. At oral arguments in May, the High Court appeared highly skeptical on how Trump would implement the changes to birthright citizenship. But justices also showed signs they wanted to limit nationwide court orders. What are the people saying? Stephen Yale Lower, a retired professor of immigration law at Cornell University, told Newsweek, quote, although the case started as a direct challenge to President Trump's efforts to end birthright citizenship, the issue before the court is narrow. Whether lower federal courts can issue nationwide injunctions to stop a president. I predict that is all the court will decide today. Thus, we will have to wait another year or two before the merits regarding birthright citizenship reach the Supreme Court. So I actually thought that when I first learned that it had kind of went up to the Supreme Court, a little while back, I was expecting a ruling to come centered around whether or not birthright citizenship as it stands would just be canceled, if birthright citizenship would just go away or if it would stay. I thought the ruling would be on that. But they did not rule on whether or not the birthright citizenship situation, or as it is, the law, they didn't rule on it changing or not. They just ruled on just how the lower courts can block it or stop whatever President Trump is doing. They ruled and said, hey, states, on a state level, you can't stop what he's trying to do. You can't stop it. There has to be like individual suits and things being filed with individual names. So that means in the interim, like, the Trump administration can proceed with rolling up on people who they feel should not be here, simply because they were born here, and even though the parents are not citizens of the U.S. So we're already seeing the Trump administration rolling up on, ICE rolling up on just people who weren't born here. Now the Trump administration will have the ability to roll up on you and have a conversation with you, even if you were born here and they know that the parents were not born here. The question posed today to the Trump administration was, how would you regulate that? Like, how are you going to go about identifying these people who were born here through illegal immigrants? Like, what does that look like? And they didn't have an answer for that today. Pam Bondi, AG Pam Bondi, just said by October, we should have some answers to that. But right now, we don't have those answers. Naima Rami, a former federal prosecutor and president of West Coast Trial Lawyers, she said it's very possible, maybe even likely, that the Supreme Court limits nationwide injunctions in Trump versus CASA. Some of the conservative justices, like Justice Gorsuch, have expressed concern that such injunctions give district judges the power to block federal laws nationwide. So another concern I learned that some of the people had centered around how the Supreme Court ruled is that some states may be more lenient than others, I guess, when it comes to the situation with the birthright being in question. Whereas like some states may be good with, okay, allowing for President Trump to proceed with the removal of people who were born in the U.S. And then some states may be like, no, you can't do that. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's not a one band, one song type situation, because Supreme Court hasn't ruled on it on that level to determine if whether or not Trump can actually get the people up that were born in the U.S. up out of here or not. So it's kind of like subjective, really, at this point. Some states may be like, yo, we're going to follow suit with how President Trump wants to roll. And then some states may be like, no, we're not. Y'all see what I'm saying? So that's why some people are not happy with how things are going right now, because it's no set standard or rule or law across the board. Like, it can vary. The Supreme Court may establish a rule to limit injunctions to the parties in case or the district or circuits where the case is filed, or it may require a higher standard to grant nationwide relief. Though the criticism of the nationwide injunctions may be warranted, having inconsistent immigration holds in different states may be its own problem. Immigration law needs to be uniform and applied consistently across the country. You see, so there's going to be a lack of consistency for who knows where. They're speculating that the Supreme Court may not come back for at least maybe like another full year with a final ruling on whether or not the birthright citizenship as it stands can be basically thrown out or not. Like, it's like we're in limbo. So in the meantime, in between time, the states can kind of operate however they choose. The states can operate however they choose. It's like it's subjective. So Georgia may operate differently than California. California may operate differently than New York because they're going off of just their own, what they want to do. It's they can operate however, whether or not New York can be like, yo, bump that. We not doing nothing. Trump saying whatever. We're not adhering to this. Whereas Georgia can be like, oh, well, we're going to adhere to the executive order that President Trump wrote. So we're going to adhere to it. You see? So you got these different states that's operating differently. Hey, what's up, Don? You got these different states that's operating differently. So that creates a problem. It's confusion. It's confusion. So from that place, like I can understand why why some people are like, nah, we got to do something. We have to do something different because we need some type of consistency. We need some consistency. Let me see what y'all saying in the chat about this. Happy Beater says they are here illegally. It's pretty simple. It means they don't have a visa or they stayed on a visa. King says his family are not here because they had him. So, yeah, I mean, what y'all think? Y'all think just because someone was born here, or AKA anchor babies, this is the name that people attach to children who are born in the U.S., whose parents are illegal immigrants. They call them anchor babies. Happy Beater said, no more anchor babies. Trump is the GOAT. Please come on in, hit the like button. Thank you, Riza. Thank you I think you might be my only moderator in here right now. So thank you for holding it down. David says, I so happen to give birth over there. She really isn't self-aware. Is she? Topher, the reason why the amendment was created was because Black people lived here legally and therefore deserve to be citizens. Let's see. Al says, why is he doing this? He is a white man from Germany. He's not originally from the country. These are the questions people have. These are the questions. So here's the thing, as we try to understand all of this, because, the Supreme Court did not come in ruling against whether or not birthright citizenship can go away or not, it leaves a lot of these questions on the table. Like, what happens? What can be done? What should be done? Because it's, as I say, it's subjective. Don says other countries you file for citizenship. So does that mean if you don't file, then yes, your citizenship is automatically just attached to the mother? That's what makes sense to me, but I don't know if that's how it is or if it, varies from country to country. To me, if you're not filing any type of paperwork, the citizenship should attach to the mother. Makes sense to me, but I'm out here just trying to understand, like many other people. Lucas says if they were born here, then they are most likely to live here. The child didn't have the choice of being here or not. Freedom says this country's freedoms are really in trouble. Tim says now if the legal parent wants to leave the child born here with a relative who is legal, that's fine because the child was born here. Otherwise, the child has got to go back to the parent. What's up, Simple Living? Said, hey, Sheik and Ma, the ones that were already born here should be able to stay. Anyone after that should return home with the mom. So you're saying, hey, so to be honest, Simple Living, I'm glad you brought that up, because as I've been thinking about this whole illegal immigration thing and them trying, the Trump administration trying to move people who are here illegally up out of here, I personally feel like, just like kind of what you said, how about we just say, yo, right now, if you're already here, now this is minus criminals, those who are out there in these streets just running amok, doing the absolute most. Anybody else, if you are over here acting civilized, just paying taxes, taking care of your family, doing what it is that you do, I feel like we should just go ahead, just stay, but player, sister, if you leave and go back, you're not coming back in here. So we're closing the borders. Anybody who's here, you're here. No one else can come over illegally. And if you are here illegally and think you're going to go back home and visit for whatever reason, you can't come back. I personally think that would be the best way to mitigate all this, to manage all this, because to me, to try to get everybody who's here up out of here, everybody who's here illegally up out of here, to me, I don't find it to be very practical. I feel like the money and the resources that is taken to do that, I think it can be put into other things like homelessness. Like, we got so many people living on the streets. Like, why don't we just put that money into that versus trying to, all right, Risen, versus trying to get rid of people who are already here. They like, damn it, I've been here 10, 12, 15 years, 20 years, however long. Like, let me just live. I'm like, at this point, I'm like, all right, then we got other things to worry about. Let's just let them stay. But going forward, nobody else. Like, what do y'all think about that? If we were like, yo, it's a hard stop right now. If you're here right now, because Trump says the borders are, they pretty much have them blocked at about, they damn near had like 100%, 99%. Like, nobody's getting through the borders right now. Nobody's getting through the borders. So what if we said, okay, if you're already here, if you're already on the other side, cool. But if you choose to go back, then you got to stay. Because there's been a lot of stories where people have gone back home to visit, whatever. Then they try to come back and then they can't get back in here. They can't get back in here. What's up, Toodles? Hey, I'm back. Can you hear me? My phone overheated. My phone overheated. I am back. I'll give you a chance to come on back in here. Don't want to start the live over. So come on back. I'm back. Come on back. Toodle said President Trump. Listen, we have to figure something out. We have to figure something out. To me, it just makes sense to just say, hey, if you're here, you're here. But going forward, no one else can come over illegally. And if you leave and try to come back, then you got to stay over there. You can't come back up in here because it's getting crazy. Like, we got to make it make sense. We got to make it make sense. Make it make sense. Let me know. What do y'all think? Don says, imagine this. Your neighbor comes over and birth in your living room. Now the kid automatically on the deed of your house, car, refrigerator example. I like that, Don. That's why I'm like, it makes sense to me that the citizenship would follow the parent. It makes sense to me. I need to try to understand, like, okay, maybe I can do that now. My phone was overheating, y'all. Welcome back. Tim says, yeah, I agree with you. They've been here 10 years or more. They're not criminals and stuff. Yeah, let them live here as long as they're not just living off of our welfare system. Yeah, I mean, at this point, I mean, there's so many of them. I think Tom Homan, the borders are, he said there's like 20 million people who are here who are classified as illegal immigrants. They have a goal of rounding up 3,000 illegal immigrants a day. He says it's achievable, it's attainable, it's crazy. Think about all the resources that it would take to do that. And I think part of that is rolled up in this big, beautiful bill that they're trying to get passed. Hey, you all, tomorrow is supposed to be the first vote on the big, beautiful bill. Tomorrow is the first vote. President Trump is wanting to have the final vote and have everything approved by the 4th of July. So that will be by next week, next Friday. Friday is the actual holiday, so maybe Thursday, July 3rd. No, I'm sorry. Friday's a holiday. Yeah, Thursday, July 3rd is probably when they would probably want to have the votes and everything done, since Friday the 4th, I mean, it's a holiday. I don't know if they work on holidays, but he did say that he wants everyone at the Senate, he wants them to just be locked in, cancel vacations, just be there, focus on getting that big, beautiful bill pushed through. So it's a lot going on. But within that big, beautiful bill, it is talks about allocating funds for additional resources for ICE, because they need more ICE agents. And remember, the goal is to round up 3,000 illegal immigrants a day. And that is to hit the target of, they initially had a target of 1 million, rounding up of 1 million illegal immigrants a year. That was the initial target when Trump first took office his second term. Then he scaled it back to about 600,000 a year, if they could round up at least about 600,000. So right now, I think that would still have them at the 3,000 a day, if they can kind of meet that number. I don't know if they ever hit that number each day, if they're on target of doing that. I don't think so. That sounds like a lot, but listen, that's the plan. That's the plan. So now with the whole birthright citizenship, that's more people, because I really don't feel like that 20 million number includes people, children who were born here. I think those are just the legit illegal immigrants who like crossed the border or came over here, overstayed. I think it's only those people that are rolled up in that number. So now if we got the whole birthright situation thrown up in there and them trying to remove people who were actually born here, like, child, that's taking it to another level. That's taking it to a level. So I'm like, yo, like, how about we just clean slate going forward? Let's do a going forward type thing. Going forward. Yeah, otherwise, I mean, I don't see how we can combat this. I mean, really, just like when I think about it, I don't know. I'm just trying to make sense of it. So let me get through some of these comments. Welcome you all. Sorry, I had to, my phone had overheated. So, but we're back. We're back. Come on in. Double tap the screen to like the video. Rolena says, I agree, should be going forward. Yeah, to me, it's too out of control. I mean, they can try all day long to get rid of the people who are here, but it's just out of control. I'm just like, listen, let's just do a going forward. Let's just, it's too much. It's too much. It's too much. Let's just try to do a going forward. So let me, I got some questions. I'm going to post, let me see. Question. If I have my baby, you are, and all right, let's see. Okay, so I had the question. I'm trying to understand how other nations, other countries handle situations where a non-citizen gives birth to a child in their country. So I asked, if I have a baby in Europe and I am a U.S. citizen, what is the citizenship of my baby? So this is what it's saying. The AI overview saying a baby born in Europe to a U.S. citizen parent can acquire U.S. citizenship at birth, provided certain conditions are met. The child will also likely be eligible for citizenship in the country where they are born, but this depends on the specific laws of that European country. So again, it's going to go by the laws of that country. So right now, the laws of the U.S. is like, hey, if your baby is born here and you're not a citizen, your baby is a U.S. citizen. Okay, that's the law. Trump is trying to change the law to make that not be the case. So it's not like he's trying to break the law. He's trying to basically revise it. Acquisition. It says a child born outside the U.S. to a U.S. citizen parent can acquire U.S. citizenship at birth. The requirements. To transmit citizenship, at least one parent must be a U.S. citizen at the time of the childbirth, and there must be a blood relationship between the child and the citizen parent. Documentation. The U.S. citizen parents should apply for a consular report of birth abroad to document the child's U.S. citizenship. So there still is like a process that you have to go with getting paperwork done. Dual citizenship. U.S. law generally allows for dual citizenship, meaning a child can be a citizen of both the U.S. and the country where they were born, according to the U.S. Department of State. So it's just, like I said, it's just going to vary on what the rules and the guidelines are for that country, So that's pretty much right now as it stands. It's like, like for our country, the U.S., they're like, hey, if you're born here in the U.S., you're a citizen. If you're born here in the U.S., you're a citizen. Trump's like, okay, I get that, but I want to change that. I don't think that makes sense. I don't like that. Don says it will require an amendment to the Constitution. So yes, so that's why the Supreme Court has to rule on it. They did not come back with a decision on that part. Like I thought they would. Many other people probably thought they would. I don't know if that was the original intention for them to do that. And they were like, listen, we need some more time. But right now, they have not ruled on changing the Constitution. So it's still, the Constitution still stands that, hey, a child who's born in the U.S. to an illegal immigrant is still a U.S. citizen. Why? Because they were born on U.S. soil. They were born here. So that's the law. It still stands. Now, Trump signed an executive order saying otherwise. So what's happening now was that each individual states have to file their own independent lawsuits. So if someone has a problem, say if someone is being impacted by this change, the executive order that Trump wrote, they have to file their own lawsuit or whatever, where their name is actually named in it as being, so what are they, the plaintiff, the defendant, whatever, their name is named on the paperwork. Up until now, that hadn't been the case. It was just basically the state just as a whole filing just a suit, paperwork, whatever, to block Trump. So that is no longer a no-go according to today's ruling by the Supreme Court. That is the ruling. So let me see what we got going on. Brolena says it happens in all countries. Conservatives don't want to hand out citizenship while liberals do. It just depends on who was in power. Happy Bria said this usually applies to military personnel, civil servants. Because that's what I thought, like say like with people who are military, if you're in the military, you're in another country, you give birth over there, you're still a U.S. citizen. That baby is still a U.S. citizen because why? The mama is a U.S. citizen. That was my kind of understanding as to how it works when it comes to the citizenship of a child, when the citizenship of the mother is in question. Mira said, imagine living in a country illegal for years and years, never filing the proper paperwork to become legal because you're too lazy, then crying when you get deported. Brolena says, my mother wasn't in the military. She just moved to Europe and had me here, hence how I got U.S. citizenship. So your U.S. citizenship, because of your mom being a U.S. citizen, that is how you were able to be granted U.S. citizenship. I get it. It follows your mom. To me, that makes sense to follow the mom. But any other type of citizenship, I think, yeah, you should, file for dual citizenship, do your paperwork, get the necessary approval. Like, to me, that makes sense. But listen, for a while, like I was on the side of, oh, if the child is born here, because I didn't really have like that understanding the way I do now. Initially, you all, and this wasn't that long ago, like this was maybe a couple of months ago. I was like, yo, like if the child is born here in the US, they're US citizens. Like, why wouldn't they be? And then someone, pointed out to me like, okay, it's no different than say if you go to another country and you're a US citizen and you give birth over there, would your child not be a U.S. citizen like you when you go back home because you gave birth over there? The child's citizenship would follow or should follow that of the parent. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. So now that I have that understanding, that's why I'm speaking the way I do. To me, it makes a lot of sense. The child should follow the parent. It makes it just easier because imagine you were on vacation. You're in Puerto Rico. You're on vacation. You're in Canada, and then you give birth over there, and then you want to go back home, and now you're back in the U.S. and you're dealing with all kinds of complications about your child not being a legal citizen for U.S. Think about that. Wouldn't that be such an inconvenience for you if you went on vacation? You gave birth over there and now you come back home and you're having all these problems with getting your child registered for school, all these things that we have to do over here. Your child needing to get their driver's learner's permit, get their driver's license, get anything. And then you're running into the problem of your citizenship being in question because your mama, while she was on vacation, she gave birth to you and then she came home and now this is the only reason why you're having all these problems. That's like, think about it. So if we think about it from that standpoint, doesn't it make sense for the citizenship to just follow the mom? Because all these different circumstances can happen. People travel. People move around a lot. People who are pregnant travel. They move around a lot. It can be any random reason why you're 9 months pregnant, 8 months pregnant, 7 months pregnant, and you find yourself having to leave the country for whatever reason. And you end up going into labor. You weren't expecting to go into labor. You went into labor. Okay, you go into labor, you have your baby. Now it's like, okay, it's time to go home and get back to my life. I'm bringing back my baby. Wouldn't you want to know that your baby has all the rights that you have in the U.S. because you're a legal citizen? So wouldn't you want to know that your child have those same rights and your child is entitled to everything you're entitled to when you return home? So that is how I kind of came to kind of switch gears on how I think about this, because I'm like, wow, like, yeah, this makes sense. Happy says doctors will tell them it's not safe to travel. Yes, but being safe to travel, that has nothing to do with, is it lawfully okay for you to travel? Because sometimes people go, what do you call that? Premature. They'll have the babies early. So I don't know if you're a woman or not, but like some women will go into labor far earlier than anyone could have ever expected, at 5 months, at 4 months, 6 months, 7 months. So you don't know. It's just, you can just go into labor. And it's during a time where, say, a doctor said, oh, okay, you're good to travel, because it's not expected for you to go into labor at that point during your pregnancy, because why? It's too early. Happy says, I am. My doctor didn't like me traveling after 6 months. I hear that, but what about those? There are some women who have gone into labor prior to 6 months, and babies were still able to survive. 5 months. Baby just stayed in the incubator and continued to grow and to develop. So I'm basically just talking about just situations to where, for whatever reason, someone did travel, or say they didn't consult with a doctor before they left, or say they did. It's still their personal choice to be able to leave. So they leave. You don't know what the circumstances are. Maybe they had a sick parent, something, a loved one, a spouse, somebody got hurt, somebody got injured, someone maybe passed away. The circumstances, it doesn't matter. If it's legal to do it, then they have that right to do it. So what we're talking about, you all, is more so from a legal aspect, not common sense, moral compass. It has nothing to do with that. We're just strictly talking about the law. From a legal aspect, I feel like whatever the citizenship is of the mother, that should automatically be for the child, period. Automatically. If you want any other kind of citizenship, you need to get some paperwork popping off or whatever. But but default citizenship, I feel like it should be that of the mother. Happy Border said, I'm just saying traveling during pregnancy isn't safe. I get it. There are circumstances to consider. Exactly. No, it's not safe. I didn't do any traveling with my pregnancies. I get it. Makes complete sense, Happy Breeder. I 100% agree with your statement. But we have those circumstances where people are traveling. And when those circumstances happen, we have to deal with these type of matters. What is the citizenship of that child? What is the citizenship of that child? So that's where we are today. Attorney General Pam Bondi said, listen, we will have more answers for you come October. What's next? The justices take the bench at 10 a.m. for their last public session until the start of a new term on October 6th. So maybe that's why she talked about October 6th, because I guess the justices will reconvene and they will talk about all of this again, because Pam mentioned October when someone asked her, like, who's supposed to regulate all of this as far as with babies and things being born here in the U.S. to illegal immigrants. Is it the doctors, the nurses, whatever? And she was like, well, we don't have those answers right now, but come October. So maybe that's why, because that's when the justices will take the bench again this year in October. Tim says, yeah, I feel that their citizenship should be attached to the parent citizenship. Now they're both from the U.S., beautiful, if not, but they should be entitled to dual citizenship. I agree to that too. So I feel like the child should automatically be able to have the citizenship that their parent has. But yes, they should also be entitled to dual citizenship because they were born there. So let's just say the anchor babies, the babies that were born here. I think that, okay, their citizenship should attach to the parent. Now, if they want to have dual citizenship, then that's when I feel like that paperwork should come into play, where the parent completes the necessary paperwork to get the process started for their child to have citizenship in the country where they were born in. Riza says, yeah, I'm just thinking about the professional athletes who play for teams out the country and when they're having their children. No different than, say, the military. When the military, they go overseas and go wherever and work wherever, and they're on the base or whatever, those men, they're having babies. They're creating families over there. From my understanding, those children are still U.S. citizens if they were born to American parents. That has been my understanding. But that all of that is just what's what's up for debate right now. Really, to me, I don't think any of this is kind of questionable right now. It's just a matter of changing the law that is in place. Because right now, it's very clear. The law is if you're born here in the U.S., you're a U.S. citizen, point blank, period. There's no confusion there. It just comes down to um, if the law if the law will change, if the Constitution will change, that will say, hey, if an illegal immigrant has a baby here in the U.S., that baby is not automatically a U.S. citizen. That child would still have to go through, I guess, the process like any other non-citizen would have to go through with completing the necessary paperwork, applying for whatever. Jeff says, no other country allows anchor babies, FFSA. Let's stop this madness. I didn't think so, but that's what I was trying to understand, Jeff, because I'm like, from my understanding, these countries, it goes off of the citizenship of the mom, but I'm coming to learn, just like what I was reading about with Europe, for an example, it can vary. My question was pertaining to Europe. If I'm a U.S. citizen and I go over there and I baby, will my child be automatically U.S. even though I gave birth in Europe? Baby born in Europe to a U.S. citizen parent can acquire U.S. citizenship at birth, provided certain conditions are met. The child will also likely be eligible for citizenship in the country where they are born, but this depends on specific laws of that European country. So for Europe, it's saying, hey, if a baby is born over there, it's pretty much going to automatically have the U.S. citizenship at birth. But if you want your child to also have your citizenship for Europe, then you're going to have to apply, basically complete the necessary paperwork. So that's just for that. I didn't even, that's just for Europe. I don't know how Africa roll, Canada, anywhere else, but it seems like there's some things that vary. It varies. Berlana says, come to Southern Europe. They are handing citizens citizenship left and right at the moment. You said, I volunteer at shelters. All babies are given European citizenship as they are born here. So even so is it automatically dual? So say if the mother is American, are they automatically still giving the citizenship, the citizenship over there in Europe to the baby automatically? So my question is the child a U.S. citizen, and they also have the citizenship of Europe? Is it both automatically dual? Or is the baby automatically just a citizen of Europe, and whatever citizenship the mom has, the baby don't have that? That's what I'm trying to understand. But to me, it seems like automatically the baby is given the citizenship of the mom. And then in Europe, they're like, hey, we're giving citizenship to you over here. Brolanda says, I work with African families and Middle Eastern families, refugees. I can only speak for what Southern Europe is doing for them. So that's why it's important to know the laws. Wherever you're going, it's important for you to know the laws. You need to know the laws because, as we've come to see on many instances, one rule doesn't apply everywhere. One rule does not apply everywhere. So, but yeah, this is where we are with this. I wanted to just come out here and just talk about it. See, do a temperature check, see how you all felt about this. It's going to definitely create a lot of confusion just because one state may operate in one way and another state may operate a different way, as we await for the Supreme Court to give their final ruling on the matter centered around birthright citizenship. Just so one says, who gives a F what Southern Europe is doing? Well, I inquired about what's going on over there because the question is, I'm just trying to understand if U.S. is doing something just so differently than what other countries are doing. Because to me, I've found that when it comes to just mitigating and managing this whole illegal immigrant situation, the U.S. is expected to just allow everybody to just have open borders. Everybody can just come free for all, even though other countries, that's not how they roll. They have strict rules centered around their citizenship, how long you can be over there, what type of paperwork you need. I just feel like when it comes to the U.S., we've just been so just relaxed when it comes to just all of this, which is why we're in this situation right now. So it's just good to know, just to understand like what's going on. How are other countries operating? How are others? So thank you, Brolana, for giving me that insight. And I have people from all over the world who tap in with me. So I like to learn about like how other countries are operating, because I've come to see that other countries are operating far more strict in far more strict ways than the U.S. But though it's a whole problem when the U.S. do what they do and want to hold people to laws, rules, regulations. Meanwhile, other nations, other countries are able to, uphold their laws, and it's not a problem. But when the U.S. do it, then it's just like, well, why do we have to be so strict? Like, I personally find the U.S. to be more lenient than most of the other countries. Jeff said every serious country on earth chooses who they let move there. Why should America not be allowed to do the same? Great point. Brolana says, yes, Southern Europe is a mess. I'm just answering a question. Yes, thank you. So it's I'm not familiar with the government, the policies over in Southern Europe, but I just know, hell, right now the U.S. is an entire mess. We got a lot going on here. So I'm not going to say clearly we ain't got it all together. I think the world has come to see that, especially lately. We do not have it all together. We listen, everybody, we all out here on the wing and a prayer. We are all out here on the wing and a prayer. But that's that. Again, the Big Beautiful Bill Act is up for vote tomorrow. Even right now, it's still not completely finalized. And that's kind of the crazy thing about it, is that it's up for vote tomorrow, but it's not completely finalized. There's still big movement taking place with the Big Beautiful Bill Act. Medicaid, that's still a big issue for a lot of people. A lot of people are not here for the changes centered around Medicaid because it can result in a lot of people finding themselves without medical insurance. Millions of people. So that's, I would say right now, from what I'm hearing, that's going to be the biggest pushback with the Big Beautiful Bill Act. And even, the Democrats already said, listen, you ain't even got to float it past my desk because it's a hard pass. It's a hard no. But some Republicans are like, I'm not liking this. I'm not liking that. So they don't even confidently have like all of the Republican votes. Because at this point, if the Democrats already saying they're not going to vote on it, you pretty much going to need like almost all of the Republican votes, kind of like with the House, where it was a situation where they could only afford to not have, I think, maybe 5. And I think they ended up passing it through by one vote. But it seems like that's going to be the same situation with this vote. They are really going to need the Republicans to come through with voting yes for it. But as I've been hearing, a lot of the Republicans are not here for parts of the bill. And I know a lot of the part that really has a lot of people's attention is the part about Medicaid. So stay tuned. I will continue to come back and talk more, because I really want to get into that Big Beautiful Bill. The Big Beautiful Bill. This live I came on, I want to talk to you all about the birthright citizenship. But the Big Beautiful Bill, like that's a big one. It is a big one. It's a lot of moving parts. I've covered it before, but I want to get back into it to just get the conversation going again, because Medicaid, like that's a sore point. That's the probably the biggest issue with the big beautiful bill. It's the part centered around Medicaid. It's the part centered around Medicaid. And it's a lot of people who rely on Medicaid, especially in the rural areas. And with the cuts with the Medicaid, it's saying that it can severely impact the hospitals in the rural area, where they're not going to have the resources available to continue to keep the doors open. So that means that the hospitals will close, and the people in those communities will not have a hospital that's easily accessible to them. They will have to drive further out. And how convenient is that, especially when you have life-threatening medical things going on with you, where you need to be able to get to a hospital within at least 15 minutes, a fairly short distance. And with this bill and the cuts to Medicaid, there are hospitals in the rural areas that says it would greatly impact them, because they're like, hell, without these cuts, we're struggling with getting the funding. So if you implement these cuts, then we might as well just go ahead and put the sign on the door that says close for good, to close permanently. So that's where we are on that. You all like the video, like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for tapping in with me for this impromptu live. Stay tuned. Make sure you have your notification bells on so you know when I go live, because I do want to come back out and talk to you all more in depth about this big, beautiful bill that Trump is really eager to get passed for the 4th of July holiday. And right now, to me, it doesn't look like it's going to pass on the first round, but they do the first vote tomorrow. So, or tomorrow, or it might even be, I think it's tomorrow. It may even be tonight. It's coming up very soon. Because tomorrow is Saturday. So I know it's coming up. It's either maybe today or tomorrow that first vote will take place. And Trump wants it to be passed by the 4th of July, which is next Friday. So we basically got, a week, 7 days to make it do what it do. So it's not a lot of time, and it's so large. It's over 1,000 pages. That's why Trump was like, hey, I just wanted to just roll it all into one instead of having all these just individual bills. Berlana says, Sheik, what were your thoughts on those Afrikaners being granted citizenship automatically? I did not like it. I went ham on probably a few lives on this channel. I don't like it at all. I don't think it's fair. And I just don't, I feel like if there's processes in place that you're wanting everyone else to follow, then the white South Africans should have to follow the same processes as well. I'm all just about just being fair, being equal opportunists, and I don't think it's fair for the white South Africans to be able to just jump to the front of the line and just come over here and just be able to access the benefits, the resources, and everything that we as American citizens have. But though those of other countries, like the Latin countries, Black Africans, wherever, they have to be removed up out of here or told, hey, you need to follow the due process, this, that, and the third. I'm like, okay, I don't like the idea of cherry picking who can jump the line versus not. So I'm not here for that. So with that being said, I'm like, yo, if whoever's here, just let the people stay. Going forward, you got to follow the process. Now, if you over here committing crimes, then yes, I feel like the Trump administration should still continue to aggressively get them up out of here. And I told y'all about, Alligator Alcatraz in Florida. They are working on Alligator Alcatraz, which is going to be a detention center located in Florida that will house the illegal immigrants who are classified as criminals, dangerous people. So they are trying to have, Florida is trying to have the alligator Alcatraz up and running by the first week of July, which will be next week, which is also the 4th of July. So a lot is expected to pop off next week in time for the 4th of July holiday. So we got the Big Beautiful Bill Act passing. If everything works out in Trump's favor, then we have alligator Alcatraz opening. And then, because they started working on that this week on Monday, they started working on alligator Alcatraz. And that will have roughly about 5,000 beds. 5,000 beds. Then we also have next week, the Diddy trial should be wrapping up. So I've been talking about that on my other channel, Chic Speaks. This is Chic Speaks on It, where I talk politics and things. But my other channel, my original channel was Chic Speaks. Follow me over there, and I talk about all other things that are going on, like the Diddy trial. They are wrapping up. Closing arguments took place this week, maybe still taking place, but hopefully next week there will be a verdict for that. So next week is a big week. Next week is a big week going into the 4th of July weekend. So stay tuned. Glam in Politics said, and how much are they going to be getting? So as far as money for the alligator Alcatraz, that is going to cost $450 million annually to keep that going, and half of that money is going to be paid for by FEMA. So basically, the government is going to be funding that situation out there. The government is going to be funding that, which translates to us as taxpayers. Tim Smith said, maybe the U.S. should set their citizenship eligibility with citizenship eligibility of the country, and their people will be treated the same way, given the same treatment. Same thing when it comes to buying property. If they wouldn't allow us citizens to own property, U.S. shouldn't allow their citizens to own property. Basically, Tim, you're saying, listen, let's just be fair. I'm all about being fair. Let's just be fair. Brolena says, Bukele, the Salvador president, was getting $10,000 per prisoner. I think annually we pay, I think it was about $2 million annually to have prisoners there. It's been a while since I really gone in depth with the SCOTUS. That's the name of the prison over there in El Salvador. I have several lives months back talking about SCOTUS, but I think it's about $2 million that the U.S. pays El Salvador to keep those prisoners there. But I did not know a breakdown as far as the dollar amount per prisoner. So that is new information to me. Thank you for that, Brolena. But yes, that whole little alligator Alcatraz situation is going to cost $450 million annually. So if the prisoners think they want to break out and go with break out of the situation, they have to get past the alligators. That is going to be the new situation over there. They will have to get past the alligators. So I don't know if they're going to be on some time like, if you can get past the alligators, then shit, you free. I don't know. But right now they're like, yo, if they break out, they have to deal with these alligators out here. And that ain't what you want. That is not what you want, but it's been approved. Everything, like, it's a go. We got the green light. They already, I think as of last week, like just as quickly as they approved it, they got to working on it. So from the last research that I've done, Monday is when they started working on alligator Alcatraz in Florida. So you can look into that. And the goal is to have it up and running by the first week of July, which will be next week. So it doesn't seem like it's going to be a lot to it. It seemed like what I saw online or on YouTube, like there's these pod things that the inmates would stay in. So it's not like it's like one big building. It's like these pods. And it's maybe like 1,000 of them. So I guess it's like multiple of them inside of there. Because they said it's a 5,000 beds. but I don't think I saw like 5,000 pods. I think it was maybe like 1,000. So it's gonna be multiple people in them. So I guess with that type of setup, it doesn't take much to get the situation going. Now I don't know who's gonna be tasked with working out there, because it's like, would you want to work out there and have to man that and make sure that people aren't getting out and escaping, and then you got the alligators too that you got to child. It's too much. It's too much. It is too much. Glam Politics said, what is the name of the company that will be supplying the beds and the things that's going to be running the company? Because there are companies, this is going to be privatized. Not sure. I do know a lot of people are starting to get into this industry with the operation or the operating detention centers. So think of it as like with the prison system. Remember, at one point, a lot of people would talk about the prisons being like a business and things like that. So now the new plug is the detention centers. So companies saying, hey, I can, have a detention center over here, and you can send your people over here, so you get contracts. So the Attorney General for Florida is the one who proposed this idea. So as we talk about who's benefiting, who's getting money, Florida. I think it was the mayor out there. She was concerned about just the liability, lawsuits, things like that happening. She just didn't just think it was just the best idea. And then, they told her about, well, how the federal government is going to be helping with funding things and that. So basically, Florida is financially benefiting. They're getting a check. Florida is getting a check. But right now, the last time I covered something like this, some months back, in my research, I found that the state of, I think Texas and Louisiana are the two largest, the biggest states that have like the most like detention centers. So most of the detention centers in the U.S. are like, I believe, in Texas and Louisiana. They have the most detention centers. And there are like some people, some businesses, some people who are like shutting down their existing businesses to go into business of operating detention centers, because ICE, the Trump administration, they're rounding up so many people. They're running out of like the space to house these people that they're rounding up. So that's why they need these detention centers to house these people. You see what I'm saying? So it's a business that people are getting into, and they're getting, it's like, I guess you're getting contracts. So you go to the government, be like, yo, I have a facility, my location, my spot can be a detention center. You can bring the illegal immigrants here, and we will house them for you until you figure out where you're wanting to send them. That is the new plug that a lot of people are getting into, that they're choosing to go into that type of business. Miss Agent says, what do you think about the Canadian man who died in Florida camps and the woman who lost her baby? I'm not familiar with that story, Miss Agent. That one's a new for me. That one's a new one for me. It's really, y'all, been so much going on in the media. Really what's had most of my attention as of late, if you're familiar with my channel, if you're new to my channel, make sure you subscribe and make sure your notification bell is on so you know when I go live. But there's a lot going on, so I do my best to try to come out and like report on like the big news. So the most recent things I've reported on is just Iran, Israel, the war, Trump negotiating the what do you call that? Stopping the war. I can't think of the name right now. All of that. That's mostly what I've been covering over here as of late. Really today is probably like a first where I'm like, okay, talking about something else outside of that, because that have taken over the ceasefire. Thank you, Glam Politics, the ceasefire. So I've been covering that. Showing concern for our U.S. military. The war, Trump dropping the bombs just it was just last Saturday, not even a full week ago, where we dropped bombs over there. Today is just Friday. So it's a lot been going on. It's a lot. And I think most people thought all hell was going to break loose following when he went over there. He had our U.S. military drop the bombs over there. So a lot of people got concerned. We started thinking about the sleeper cells, the people who are over here, likely illegally, but they're over here just blended in with, everyone else. and just waiting for orders from their leaders from other countries to tell them when and how to get it on and popping if the U.S. pissed them off in any type of way. So that's been a concern for a lot of the American people this week. But with the whole ceasefire situation, it has kind of calmed a lot of people's nerves. Some people may still be on 10, but I mean, I don't think, I'm not as concerned as I was before now that I know there's been some type of agreement between the two nations. So right now it's like I'm, ready to talk about other things such as this big, beautiful bill that's supposed to pass very soon, because while we were focused on what was popping off in Iran and Israel with the war, this big, beautiful bill is still out there floating around that's getting closer and closer to being voted on. So that was concerning to me, because prior to me talking a lot about the war and even the ICE, I did a lot of content centered around the ICE roundups, the protests, the riots, and all of that. So it took away the attention from the Big Beautiful Bill Act. So now people are starting to talk again about this Big Beautiful Bill Act, because the day is near for it to be voted on, and a lot of people are not here for it. A lot of people are not here for it. In its totality, am I here for it? I'm just going to say no, just because mainly just this Medicaid little situation part. It's just I don't think as a collective it's in the best interest overall for people who rely on Medicaid. But I'm not going to say the whole Big Beautiful Bill Act is bad. I'm just saying, okay, right now I wouldn't vote yes, because we got to kind of work through that. We got to work through that. It's over 1,000 pages. I have not gone through it all. So I can't say, okay, yes, I support it, and I don't know everything it works. What's up, Dr. J? Happy Friday. How it works, I don't know. So because I don't know, I'm not going to say, hey, I'm for it. Because guess who did say, hey, I'm for it, and they didn't know? A lot of these state representatives. What's her name? Marjorie Taylor Greene. She acknowledged, like, yeah, no, I didn't read it. They really plopped it on my desk the day before, and I just signed it. So multiple people kind of had sentiments like that, like, no, I didn't read it, but, and that's scary. Like, you have people who you voted for in office who are saying, yo, like, yeah, I voted for it, but no, I didn't read it. I mean, so with me, I don't think that's good. Yes, Dr. J, is very odd. I only came live because I had saw that the Supreme Court had did a ruling birthright citizenship. So I had some time to kind of go live, but yeah, I'm about to get up out here. I just want to come and just put that out here. But I will probably be going live again, my normal time that I go live over the weekend. And I would like to really get into this Big Beautiful Bill Act more, because they are voting for it for the first time, either today or tomorrow. They'll be voting for it. I'm not expecting it for it to pass the first time as far as to get the number of votes that it need. But next week, by the 4th of July, that is when President Donald Trump wants it to be voted on, and wants it to be passed. So stay tuned, like, share, and subscribe. Make sure you have your notification bell on so you know when I go live. Definitely be be a part of the replay gang, because I did get into this birthright citizenship situation. Sorry, had a call coming through. It's a lot of people that may be confused by the birthright citizenship and what it means. So in the beginning of my life, I kind of started it out explaining it the best that I could based off of my understanding, because I ain't gonna lie, I was confused too, but I did my best. I did my best to try to understand the bill. So be a part of the replay gang. Let me comments. Come back. Rolanda says, Dr. J, that comment made me laugh. I really need to read it for a clear understanding. Yes, you all read everything. Get into the Big Beautiful Bill Act. Get into the birthright citizenship. get into all that to just understand for yourself the best you can as to what's going on. And I will continue to do the same and come back on here and let you all know. Again, go out, make it a great day. Happy Friday. And I will catch you all on the next broadcast. Peace.